Hi, glad you are listening to this real-life story. Thank you. Subscribe and comment, it's very important to me. I was 20 years old, just a boy, and I had come from my remote village to enroll in a technical college. I had never been to a city before, and everything seemed strange and overwhelming to me. I had a suitcase in one hand and a voucher in the other. I stood on the doorstep of the dormitory where I was to spend my college years. The seniors hanging around the entrance noticed my confused expression and pointed me to the dormitory manager's room. I timidly knocked on the door, not knowing what to expect. "I'm in," I heard a disgruntled female voice say. I entered and found myself in front of a woman in her 50s. She looked at me, sizing me up as I stood there feeling a little lost and nervous. Her hair was tucked back in a tight bundle, and her sharp eyes seemed to pierce through me. "Look," I said naively in my rustic manner, "I just got here. What am I supposed to do next?" The dorm supervisor, whose name was Linda Matthews, squinted at me. She sighed heavily, as if dealing with newcomers like me was an impossible burden for her. "You'll have to work off your dorm stay," she said. I didn't quite understand what she meant, but I nodded, having no choice. I needed somewhere to stay, and I was willing to do whatever it took to secure a place. At 10 o'clock that evening I went to her room again, as she had requested. Linda, as I now knew her, behaved more graciously this time. There was an old couch in the room, and across from it was a table with salads, vodka, and slices of bread. There was a musty odor in the room, and the dim light cast long shadows on the walls. "Come in. Sit down," she said, her voice softer. She poured me a shot of vodka. But I don't drink, I wanted to object, but something in her demeanor stopped me. She looked at me with an expectant gaze, and I realized I had to comply. In that moment I realized that I was going to have to pay for something I had never done before, something that surpassed anything I had experienced up to that point. Linda got up and closed the door. I felt uneasy, but she turned on the TV and smiled at me. "Relax, honey. Let's sit back and get to know each other better." She began to tell me about her recent divorce. She caught her husband with her mistress and had been living alone ever since. As we talked, she poured us glasses, and the more we drank, the more I started to like her. She had big green eyes that seemed to sparkle when she spoke, and an undeniable charisma that drew me in. Her laughter was infectious, and I felt myself relaxing despite the strange situation. As the evening went on, the conversation flowed more and more easily. Linda talked about her loneliness, how hard it was for her to adjust to being alone after so many years of marriage. I listened, feeling sympathy and something else, something I couldn't define. It became clear that this night would end with me becoming a man. As we danced, she snuggled up to me, her perfume enveloping me, and our kiss led us to the couch where it all happened. It was unforgettable for me, and the experience filled me with a newfound sense of confidence. I felt I had crossed a threshold, leaving behind the boy I was and entering adulthood. In the morning, Linda made me coffee and quietly sent me to my room. Sunlight streamed through her window, and for a moment everything around me seemed surreal. I went back to my room, dizzy from the events of the night before. 3 days later, she met me again in the hallway and asked if I could stop by her place tonight. She needed my help, and I knew exactly what she meant. I agreed, feeling a strange excitement and sense of obligation. For almost 3 months I ran to her at her first call, gaining experiences I didn't even realize I had. Each encounter was different, sometimes tender, sometimes filled with a strange intensity that both thrilled and terrified me. Linda taught me things I didn't even realize I had learned, and with each visit I became more and more confident, not only in our moments of interaction, but also in my daily life. I began to walk with my head held high and shoulders squared. I felt like I knew some secret that set me apart from other boys my age. Eventually I got a new girlfriend, a fellow student named Emily, and Linda was over. I realized that I couldn't keep dating Linda while I was building a real relationship with Emily. Linda seemed to understand. She didn't grieve long. She soon found another young student who, like me, needed her guidance. That was the story of my college life. That early experience shaped me in ways that I could not fully comprehend at the time. It was my initiation into the complexities of adult relationships, into the messy, unpredictable nature of desire and connection. Looking back, I see a young guy who came to town with nothing but a suitcase and a voucher, and left with stories that would stay with him for a lifetime.